Good morning, everybody. Hi, everyone. It is wonderful to be back together on a Monday. I'm really, really grateful for this space today, and starting off our week together. I'm grateful, as always, to Nama for carving out a space for us as we start our week, um, and focusing our thoughts as we move towards the high holidays. I want to very much name that it is hard not to be distracted by the news, even first thing in the morning. And I texted some people that I love in Jerusalem today with a lot of anxiety and resentment, saying, I do not like waking up and having to send, "Are you okay?" texts. That is not how any of us want to be living. So I'm just going to name that. Good morning. It's Monday and my heart is in the East. And I'm also going to say and flip a little bit just because I feel like we have to hold all of the things at the same time. Um, as much as I look like I am channeling and copying Nama today, I'm gonna give the backstory just because it's a little bit funny. One of the lovely people who live in my house, who will remain nameless and is cute and delicious, still came home and brought fun little bugs home with him from school. And so that was how we spent our Sunday in my house. So I'm laughing at what I look like in Zoom because it's the first time I've seen myself today. But also, I just want to say that as annoying as my day yesterday was, I met this lovely woman, Svetlana, who spent way too many hours in my head, and in the heads of everybody in my house. But this woman, Svetlana, is a single mom who is putting her daughter through a master's program at American University. She is an immigrant from Russia and has only been here for, I don't know, less than a dozen years. But she was spending hours pulling bugs out of my head. And for me, that was a moment to get to know her and to also just appreciate the power of women and how amazing women are and how we don't let anything get in our way. And that where we have a will, we make it possible. And so she was sitting in my home doing something that I could not do and I could not imagine doing as a lifestyle choice. And she told me all about her amazing daughter who is getting her second master's and is an incredible human who she is very, very proud of. And so I was very grateful to meet Svetlana. And that for me is a segue into what this space is. It is a celebration of the remarkableness of women. And now I am grateful to you for pulling out our wisdom each time we come together. Again, as always, if you're new to Nama's teaching, welcome and you are in for a treat. I'm so glad that you're here. As always, please don't be worried if you hear Hebrew mentioned. Everything will come into translation and understanding. It is definitely part of how Naama teaches, and we will translate everything. And if you hear something and need extra translation, yell at us in the chat to make sure that everybody is on the same page. We'll agree to do that as a community for everybody. If you want to start out in the chat saying hi and tell us where you are this morning and where we're finding you, that would be wonderful. Take a minute to make yourself comfortable. Also, grab a warm drink and something to write with and something to write on. We're so thankful. I'm so thankful to be starting Monday off together with everybody. And thank you, Nama, as always, for starting our week like this.
Thank you. Um, Thank you, Ariella, for holding this place and Jordan. And yeah, I feel like many years in Elul, I felt like I'm getting into a more calm kind of place. And I still do, but it is also intense. I guess in the last 2 years, just intense all the time. And maybe this is just like, I don't know, the world is changing. Maybe that's something to accept and work with. And that goes back to where we started again, right? How do we work in times of crisis and confusion? Um, okay. So, a few things as we're entering this space. You know, today is the middle of Elul, which means tonight, if you go out, you will see a full moon. And the next time the moon will be empty, that will be Rosh Hashanah. So that's in 2 weeks. And I say that because a place that was one of the biggest privileges in my life when I went to yeshiva to learn for 2 years in Migdal Oz. I had this most incredible teacher, and she always started Elul by telling us, look at the moon on Rosh Chodesh Elul, on the first day of the month. She would say, look at the moon. Next time the moon is going to be empty, it's going to be Rosh Hashanah, and we would follow the moon every night. And there's something about just following the moon that is always so strong for me. Um, and I'll say maybe two things about it in our space. Um, we started this learning together on Monday mornings. Thank God. Thank you, Ariella, also and SVIVAH for enabling this. But just like we wanted to start the week with an anchor, with Ogin. And we started just like, taking one sentence a week to create these little anchors under us in the stormy water, these little shoots on top of us, creating a sanctuary that can give us shade. We just felt the real need for like a little bit of anchoring. And, one way of anchoring is really anchoring ourselves in the ancient words. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing that we have access to these words. And every week we take, one more sentence, one more anchor in our tradition. It's also like another anchor, another brain um, path, right? That is being strengthened. We're creating something that strengthens us. There's also one more way I think that is really grounding and helpful, and that is to just remember the body. The small body, my hands, my nose, right? Like little kids, that's one of the first things that they learn. It's very cute. Where's your nose? Where are your lips? Right? Where are your ears? But even adults, like, do you want I can ask all of you, imagine that you're little kids, but like, where's your nose? Show me where's your nose. Where are your cheeks? Where are your teeth? Where are your eyes? Ears? So it's a little silly, but like this body is also a very grounding thing, just to pay attention to our pulse, to our breathing, and to the bigger body, which we call sometimes the environment or the world, but really we're so embedded in that body. So, for example, the moon, just to pay attention to the moon in the night, it takes you away from your thoughts to just pay attention to something that you're connected to, but that is not, that it doesn't feel like it's in you. So I'm inviting you also to start just looking at the moon from tonight. Next time you'll see it empty, that will be Rosh Hashanah. Um, and the other thing I want to say about the moon specifically, because we can also, of course, look at trees and see the seasons. We can look at the sky and see differences, and we can look at whatever we leave around, if it's plants, if it's mountains, everything that is in the big world, the tiny area that we are connected to that big world. But the moon specifically is also such a feminine symbol. And I think we learned in the past in SVIVAH, and I'm sure Ariella can send the recordings if people have the time. But I think we mentioned the moon a few times in the past, because Yemima in her teachings to Elul, she really speaks about the moon being covered. And I think the image of the moon, just think about like the moon is so full at the moment. It's and Elul is time that we sometimes call it like Ibur. It's time of going back to the divine womb. It's time of going back to our vulnerability. It's time of going back to a place of renewal, to a place of remembering that there are options, that there is a potential, that we are connected to eternity. And then Rosh Hashanah will be a time of empty moon, which means birth. And then you have to go into the world and do it. And you can do it, and you will do it. So today in our time together, I want to focus on two things. Our sentence for today will be from Rabbi Nachman. So that's one that we didn't have yet. We had the Book of Creation, we had Yemima. Today we're going to learn a sentence from Rabbi Nachman. Um, and I also want to say something about this process that we're going through, right? We started this specific section of Ogen in Tisha B'Av. I want to speak a little bit about this arc of going from Tisha B'Av to the high holidays, and why are we going from grief into the high holidays? Why is it that the Jewish time, which is our biggest teacher, at least for me, right? The pulse of the Jewish time tells us we can feel our own pulse and we can feel the pulse of Jewish time, which is embedded in the pulse of time more generally. And why is the pulse of Jewish time wanting to teach us to move from grief to closeness, from grief to closeness to Hashem? Why is this the process? So these are the two things that I would love for us to learn a little bit today. And for now, let's just walk into our shared sacred space with our regular um, entering question. Just like pay attention to yourself, and you can pay attention to your mind, or you can pay attention to your pulse, or whatever it is that you want to pay attention to. What's moving in me? This is the question that we ask every week. What is moving in me? What's going on for me? Check in with ourselves. It's always just to be nice to ourselves is always a good thing. To pay attention to ourselves is an important thing. Sometimes there's so much rush in the day. So just like what's going on, and if there's something that really bothers you, that's a time to leave it on the paper so that you can go open into the learning. So we'll take a minute and then I'll call us back. Just like what's moving in me? What's going on for me today?
That's just important.
Hey, we'll come back together. Um, all right. So our sentence for today is a sentence from Rabbi Nachman. I'm going to put it in the Hebrew in the chat and then in the English. And I feel like it's one that I really needed today. So I'm sharing it with you. Um, Oh, 1 second. אוקיי. כשאדם יודע שכל מאורעותיו הם לטובתו, זו הבחינה אם אין עולם הבא. When a person knows that all his experiences are for his good, this awareness is a taste of the world to come. And I want to speak a little bit about the sentence. And this sentence um, was was hanging in my parents' house. And I remember seeing it many, many, many times. And I think for me, I had a problem with Rabbi Nachman for many, many years. I don't know who of you is learning Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. He was like a very, very um, incredible teacher, and there's something very extreme about him, very interesting, very kind of like adapted to our days in a way, even though he lived about 300 years ago. But I'm going into like, כשאדם יודע שכל מאורותיו הם לטובתו, זה הבחינה אם אין עולם הבא. When a person knows that all his experiences are for his good, this awareness is a taste of the world to come. It can sound like a little bit of like a forcing sentence. Like you might hear it and say like, when you know that everything that happens to you is for your best, right? This is a taste of the world to come. And a person might say, I don't feel that what happens to me is for the best. I actually feel like what happens to me is not for the best. Why should I feel that it's for the best? Right? So it's a little similar, I think, for me to Rabbi Nachman saying, "Mitzvah gdola liot b'simcha tamid." It's a big mitzvah to be always happy. You're like, and what if I'm not happy? Like, what do I do with that teaching? Like, what are you saying to me? So in that same place where I learned about the moon, which called Migdal Oz, Midrashet Migdal Oz. I also had this incredible teacher who taught me Rabbi Nachman, and he totally changed my understanding of Rabbi Nachman. Um, and I think that, yeah, Jordan, exactly. Like the kind of like self-convincing that, oh, this is for the best, this or like a Pollyanna kind of like, inner conversation. Oh, this is for the best, for the best. Like, what can you say? Some things suck, They're not for the best, and they just feel really like annoying. And you're like, I wish it never happened. Um, so what is it that Rabbi Nachman is trying to say here if he's not trying to tell us to convince ourselves? Because convincing ourselves is not the real thing. So why would that give you a taste of the world to come? So I think, first of all, I'm starting from the end. If it gives you a taste for the world to come, then you know that you really feel that you're morotav em letovato. Then you feel, right, that what happens to you, all the meoraot, all the things that are happening to you, it's not even exactly experiences, right? Everything that occurs to you, then if you're feeling the taste of the olam haba, of the world to come, that's a sign for you that you actually were able to connect. But let's open that just a little more. What does it mean that when a person when a person knows that everything that happens to them is for their good? What does it mean when a person knows that everything that happens to them is for their good? So I would say it's not good the same way we sometimes think about good, which is nice, comfortable, convenient, feels good. But I feel like this sentence, I bring it this week because it's such a big ask of us to remember what we spoke about here in this class already in the past, that we're working in collaboration with God. When a person knows that everything that happens to them is for their good, meaning when a person is able to connect back and say, I'm with you, you're with me. You're working on this with me. I'm working this thing out with you. This is my soul journey, and I'm working this out. Then you can start feeling the taste of the world to come. Now, I don't know if it still like sits on our heart. Is it really still opening? I was I was thinking about this sentence like in the last few days, and I felt like it gave me actually a lot of energy. So I wanted to bring it here as we're coming close to Rosh Hashanah. Yemima calls Rosh Hashanah a gate. Rosh Hashanah is a gate. There's something about these like end experiences that really brings a lot of reflection. When we come to the end of life, for sure, or to the end of an experience, you know how you finish camp and you're like, wow, remember on Wednesday how we did this, and remember how on Monday we used to do that, and how we sang like this, and remember how she wore these like two socks that were unmatching, and right, you're going back to all the experiences. There's something about Rosh Hashanah that we're like going back to all the experiences, and sometimes we're like, ah, remember this annoying thing that happened to me this year in January. It was like so annoying. Remember this thing that, and I think what Rosh Hashanah is also allowing us is that kind of like full stop, right? When we're looking back to start connecting the dots of our life. Some things in isolation feel really hard, and they are hard. That's why they feel hard, because they're hard. Surprise! They're really hard, and therefore they feel hard. They're not feeling good, and it's fine. But there is also a knowledge when a person knows, I think, is not when a person feels. When a person knows that everything that happens to them is for their good, when a person knows, that's a different thing, right? When I know inside of me that I'm holding the hand of the divine and I'm walking this way and I'm opening up every time with I'm getting to a situation, I'm I'm choosing the diuk if I can, and if not, I'm making a mistake and the next time I'm choosing the diuk, then I know that it's for the good, meaning I'm walking with the story that is unfolding, the story of the divine creation, and I'm willing to be part of it. I think for me, that was also the big revelation when I started learning Rabbi Nachman with that teacher that I've done. I remember when he told us about what simcha means for Rabbi Nachman. What does it mean to be happy? He says to be happy means to be involved and engaged in your life rather than looking at them from the outside. He said when you're looking at your life from far away, you're like, it could have been like that. It could have been like that. That's what Rabbi Nachman calls sadness. Joy means I'm willing to be engaged in my life. For me, it was a very helpful framing. Rather than you have to smile and jump and feel so good. No, you're willing to engage in your life. That's joy. It looks like engagement in your life. Rabbi Nachman's image is when you're holding everybody's hands and getting into the circle of the dance. You're not looking at it from outside. You are in the dance, and sometimes you don't like it, and sometimes you do like it. And that is the range of emotion. And the range of emotion, of course, is really important, and we go through it, and these are waves, and they go through us, and we go through them. But there's also a deep, deep knowledge. I'm holding the hand of the divine, and I'm going through this life, unfolding my own divine story. Mamash. Every person is a Torah. Every person's story is a Torah. That is something so, so deep. And I feel really, really strongly that when I am able to go back to that knowledge, to that knowing, to that connection, to that kind of like a little bit of a bigger thing, I'm able to go through the nice feeling and not nice feelings parts of life more easily. So when a person knows that everything that happens to them is for the good, doesn't mean that their life is easy. But it's like the creation when God says, wow, it's good. It's good. You know, if you have the merit and privilege of having children, you can look at them and say, it's good. If you have the privilege of having a home, you can look at it and say, it's good. Is it perfect? Is it always nice? Do you never have maintenance work that you have to do to your house? Do you never have to take lice out of the hair of your children? Things happen, of course. If you have the privilege of having a pet, you can look at it and say it's good. If you have the privilege of having a garden, you can look at it and say it's good. There is the ability to say it's good. it doesn't mean that it's all the time very easy or a very nice feeling, but it's good because you are part of creation. And as we're coming near to Rosh Hashanah, a day of creation, then we're coming back to this knowledge that it's good. It's good. It's good. Life is good. And it's not always very comfortable. But when a person knows that everything that happens to them is for their good, then that is a taste of the world to come. And so this is the sentence that I want us to just take with us for this week. When a person knows that what happens for them to them is for the good, then that is a taste of the world to come. And I want to just add really a short thing, and then we'll open for conversation. Um, we are ending a week of 7 weeks, a time, a section in Jewish time of 7 weeks called Sheva de Nechemata, the 7 weeks of comfort. From Tisha B'Av until Rosh Hashanah, we read every Shabbos at the synagogue a special haftorah that are called Sheva de Nechemata. So these are 7 weeks when we're reading haftorahs that are not connected to the parsha, are connected to comfort. And our in the shul I go to, there's a wonderful rabbanit, and she spoke about these Sheva de Nechemata this Shabbat, these 7 haftarot. And I want to say one thing that I heard from her that I feel like really speaks to our shared learning. Um, she said that, like, she went to that question, like, why is it that we're going from grief into the high holidays? Why is it that we're going from Tisha B'Av into the high holidays? Why didn't we put Pesach before the high holidays? I mean, that could have been a very different experience to go from like freedom into the high holidays. No, we're going from grief into the high holidays. That is how the Jewish pulse of time works. We're going every year through this experience, going 7 weeks from grief to the high holidays. And in one of the weeks that we learned here together, we mentioned that our sentence for the week was Ani ledodi vedodi li, I am to my beloved and my beloved is to me. And we spoke about the fact that Elul is a time of closeness with Hashem, the time where we are going back to feeling our closeness, the intimacy with Hashem, which sometimes we might have lost, intimacy with ourselves, which sometimes we sometimes maybe have lost. And there's something about grief that really cuts off closeness to some extent with God. Because there could be, and sometimes for, makes sense, a lot of blame. Like, why did you do that? Why did you do this? Why did you have to do this? Why did I have to go through this? And it's a real question. And the thing is, when these real questions come, they really shake our life. And then it's not possible to get out of them very quickly. They require time. Now, grief is part of life. Death is part of life. This is a real part of life. And it's an important part of life. Our ability to be shaken is part of how we grow. This is just how this world is designed. And this is what mysticism is teaching us all the time. The world was designed by a breaking line. Tzimtzum, shever. We start from this point of brokenness. And that point of brokenness opens something, shifts something, and we need to then rebuild from there. And that recovery takes time. So we take 7 weeks to build slowly our ability to be in intimacy and connection with Hashem. We are allowing ourselves to feel all the range of emotions. Grief is one of them. And Jewish time gives us grief and gives us the heartbreak and gives us the ability to shatter once a year at least. Sometimes, unfortunately, more than that, but definitely once a year. And then from there, we're starting to build trust and we want to be real about it. And this is why we have 7 weeks. We don't want to say, oh, we're so close, we feel so close when we're not. There's slowly, slowly, stitch by stitch, step by step, growth towards closeness. And it can also go back and forth. It's not always such a very straight line, but I feel it's a real, real, very deep and raw sense of what life is. And we're coming to the high holidays to be real. That's a time in the Jewish year when we're like being very real. And Bezrat Hashem, we also feel the sweetness of the raw emotion. But I feel like it's an opportunity for us when we move with Jewish pulse, with Jewish time, to go through things, to feel them. Sometimes it's also really connected to our personal life, other years it's not. But um, but I just wanted to mention that as we're going to, we said turning towards Elul, we called this series, but really to remind ourselves we are in an arc, we are in a process walking from Tisha B'Av to Yom Kippur. And um, yeah, and this week, our sentence within this arc, when we're going back and forth between different sentences, um, this week we're saying, כשאדם יודע שכל מאורותיו הם לטובתו, זו הבחינה היא מעין עולם הבא. When a person knows that everything that happens to them is for the good, for their good, this is a taste of the world to come. Now, Ariel, I'm realizing that we need to create a poem of all our sentences from the beginning of the 7 weeks journey. I see that something's happening in the chat, but I wasn't able to read. Um, so I'll look at it right now. But
Nama, I'm good. Before you
yeah,
before you lead us in, I want you to give us a chance to share our words and our poetry because I think it's very important. But what you didn't catch in the chat also is worth lifting up. And I just want to name that there has been a side conversation and also some beautiful holding around really very significant trauma that, particularly in women's spaces, never stops shocking me, both how sadly and horribly common it is, and that it's a shared experience by way more people than it should be, and also the level of compassion and care and understanding that we have for each other. And I am blown away by both. And I just want to send a lot of love because it's so tremendously hard to hold the what you're saying makes so much sense. And what you're teaching and offering does make so much sense. And also, I am so deeply appreciative of the gift of mentioning time and saying that to get to the place of what you're teaching can take a lot of time, um, particularly when it's not always easy to, that word good can feel very hard. So I just want to honor all of the people who are commenting. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. as we're closing, we'll close like we always do. If people can please put in the chat one thing that they're going to take with them for the week, and then we're going to open the room for conversation. So please give us some words in the chat. Thank you for being so real, friends. Um, I should give my annual Rosh Hashanah a little drash. That we think of Rosh Hashanah as a time of like making sense when a king sits on his crown and gives you yes if you're good and no if you're bad. So that's a world that has order. It's very organized if we think of that crown. But the crown of Rosh Hashanah can also be the crowning of the baby coming out, the new birth of every person into the new year. And everybody knows birth is a messy process that doesn't make any sense. And that's also a way of thinking about Rosh Hashanah. We just go through the cycles. They don't always make sense, but we live with them and we work with them and we bring life. And more about it in the SVIVAH Machzor companion that everybody should get on Amazon. Um, and yeah, yeah. And also, now I feel like I don't know if I want to say this. Also, if you got the cards, then you have a card about Rosh Hashanah that speaks about this, the crowning and the crowning, and that gives you a way to arrange intentional flowers to bring holiness into your home. So if that's something that you want, I'm sending them on Tuesday, which is tomorrow. Oh my gosh. So if you still want them, uh, get them and I will lovingly send it to you your way. Uh,
Naeem, that you did a terrible job of talking about your beautiful cards and that they are so gorgeous and that I am excited because my mom was really funny and she said that she sent me a set of them already and that I am curious to ask everybody here how they might feel if you've seen them before. And Nama, I don't know if you have them with you and you want to share them, but I put the link in the chat to Nama's website so that you can take a peek at them. But we were talking before, and I was wondering if it would be of interest to everybody here to have a session where maybe Naama could walk us through using her color cards and all of the different ways, all of the different things that those colors call up for us. Then maybe we could think about creating our own, the bouquet that we would want to have on our Rosh Hashanah table. So, what we are hoping for and trying to manifest the colors and do you call them sphirot? What do you call them? All the different ideas, Nama, that we want to manifest in our year to come. And I love the idea of having such an intentional bouquet on the Rosh Hashanah table that just feels so, even if it's made out of scarves or even the cards themselves, just to have those colors would be so beautiful. And I'm excited and really amazed to see all the work that you put into bringing them and birthing them into the world. So if
that was a
that's
big birth.
something,
That was almost a C-section. I didn't believe that it will happen in the end. Um,
but if it's of interest, tell me in the chat if it's something that would be of interest to you, or you could do a hand raise or whatever. That would be, and we can try to make that happen.
yeah, let's do it. This place is really, you know, a woman's circle. It's always good to be here. Um, Good to see everyone. And we'll meet next week. Next week will be our last session before Rosh Hashanah. Um, so that will be our session leading into Rosh Hashanah, and then we'll still have one more between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So for now, Have a good week, and hopefully the words will walk with you throughout this week, and we'll meet here next Monday. Goodbye.